Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all having a great day and that you're all doing well. Almost like clockwork. How weird is this? The Swiss government has attempted to strike a more conciliatory tone on the Facebook-led Libra project. Weeks after the country now departed president called the project a failure. A government memo seen by Bloomberg emphasizes the country's regulators have not ruled out the possibility that Libra could one day receive their approval. Swiss officials will continue to monitor the project, the memo says, or reads, paying special attention to the form which Libra may take in the future. Published on the 15th of January, the memo could mean the Swiss government wants to soften its stance on Libra and show it recognizes the value of an international payments solution. Switzerland is generally open to projects that reduce the cost of cross-border payment transactions and seeks to promote financial inclusion, the government said. The news comes weeks after Swiss Finance Minister Uli Maurer, who at the time was also the country's president, surprised industry observers with a blunt statement to Swiss broadcaster SRF on the 27th of December, saying regulators would not approve Libra anytime soon. Maurer stated, Libra will not work in its current form because the central bank had not accepted the basket of currencies that would back the stablecoin. The project in this form has thus failed, he said. For those of you who didn't get that entire part of it being backed by a basket of currencies, typically things are backed by other things. This is kind of what gives them value besides hope. And a dream and a prayer, sometimes when things are valued, they are valued off of one other item. The people from Facebook had announced that their Libra coin would be backed by a number of world currencies. This was part of the problem that the US government had last year when they found out that Libra was going to be a thing. One of the main questions was, which currencies are you using to back your coin? And there was a lot of speculation as the people from Libra had actually, what's the word? They said they had spoken with regulators in Switzerland that it would be the, is it called the Swiss dollar? I can't remember exactly what it's called right now. The Swiss currency, it would be the Chinese currency, the euro, and a bunch of other things, and that the US dollar would not take part in it. However, the people from Calibra came forward and said no, that the Libra coin would be backed mainly in large part by the US dollar, not the Chinese currency, and therefore this is why I believe US regulators were like, okay, it's fine, as long as we have skin in the game, it's totally cool. Switzerland had initially welcomed the project after the Libra Association said it would establish its headquarters in the country's banking capital of Geneva. As Bloomberg reported at the time, the Swiss State Secretariat for International Finance welcomed the move, describing it as a positive sign that Switzerland can play a role in an ambitious international project. So, I'm going to tell you, sorry, I had tea right before this as well. It clearly didn't work. I'm going to tell you what I think happened in a sequence of events, and this is how it plays out in my head. The news that we had that Libra was going to launch took not a lot of people by surprise, but it was a very big thing last year, June. A lot of people were surprised that this had gone unbeknownst to many regulators, world leaders around. No one simply knew about it. I think that part is a complete lie. As large as Facebook is, they're not stupid. They understand that they have to talk to regulators. They knew exactly that they're trying to make a new world currency. This isn't something that they were like, they thought of, decided to simply slap it there. They went through regulations, at least in Switzerland, because they understood what they were going to try and do. If you're trying to become something larger than PayPal, and PayPal already has tons of restrictions, tons of this and paperwork and stuff like that, they had to talk to regulators beforehand. What I think ended up happening is that a lot of people around the world knew that this was going to launch, knew that this was going to be discussed, knew that this was going to be released to the public last June. And what ended up happening was that a lot of people just simply didn't play ball. And I think one of the people who didn't play ball was the former finance minister, president, whatever you want to call him, of Switzerland. And this is why it shocked a lot of people when he said what he said, because it probably was already well known within the government. Facebook is launching a currency. They're going to do it here. It's going to be backed by so-and-so. This was also another main point, that they decided to do it within Switzerland as opposed to doing it within the US, which I think also shocked a lot of US regulators as well. Kind of like, why wouldn't you do it here as opposed to doing it somewhere else? The news that we had, it was about 2 or 3 days ago, was that the people from Australia, this is why I said timing's a witch, because remember the people from Australia about a month ago said that they hated Facebook, they hated Libra, they hated Calibra, it would never launch in their country. And then 3 days ago, they were like, well, it's not that bad. You know, as long as they fall in line and, you know, as long as we know what's going on and all this other stuff, it's totally fine for them to launch. And it's like, well, that's funny. And I was like, well, if we hear more news about this in the next couple of days, it's clear, at least to me, that money has been passed across some sort of table. And lo and behold, the Swiss government is now like, well, you know, Libra's not that bad. It could be worked on. This all pretty much has to come down to, or rather what it's going to come down to, is that if they, the governments, have enough control over the data that's passing through it, because the data to them is very important. It's very valuable, might I say, then they're completely fine with it. So I'm going to assume today's the 23rd. By the end of this month, we will probably hear about at least one other country who said they would never like Libra. And I assume by the end of February, we should start hearing news about Libra giving us some type of a launch date, when it's going to happen, because all the regulators seem to be completely on board. But how weird. It's such nonsense, and all this stuff just has to come down to money and control. The people from Libra or Facebook in the very beginning thought that they could probably maintain more control over the entire thing than they initially planned or whatever. But it seems regulators were like that we want a larger slice of cake, and when we have that, you can do whatever you want. Because in the end, it's still. This is why we have a big problem right now. I don't know if you've seen, there's an issue right now where many tech companies are, if someone from a government decides to go into an office and say, we need all the information from all your users from the last year. If you don't comply with us, you go to jail. And everyone's like, fine, take all the data. And it's like, but it's not your data. It's my data. It's our data. You didn't create this data. Why do you have free reign or control over it? And why should it be yours? Simply because you may be looking for one person who did something hyper illegal out of 100 million people, but now you also have the information of 100 million people who don't know that you have. You see how this all. So one of the main things is, and I think a lot of people watching, listening to this channel get it. Finally, this is going to be one of the most apocalyptically dystopian things in the entire world. Libra is going to launch. There's too much support behind it right now, and we're going to get to another story about that in a little bit as well. Everything you hear about anything that could be negative can easily be pushed over, swayed over, swept under the rug, as long as there's money involved. There's a reason why all the countries are now coming out of the woodworks and saying, Libra's not that bad. Well, that's really funny, because you were all throwing these congressional, senatorial, crazy hearings about 4 or 5 months ago, trying to call for a moratorium to get it completely stopped. Let's move on. Oh, and even more so, remember the news that the people from Facebook and Libra had announced, I think 2 or 3 months after they had announced in June that this was going to happen, that they were also open to the idea of simply creating different types of Libra coins in different types of countries, i.e. there would be a Libra US dollar, a Libra euro, a Libra yen, a Libra ya. And I assume that's also what probably has taken place as well. So Libra, as we know it, will launch under the name Libra, but you probably won't be able to swap Libra. That's what it is. I got it. You won't be able to swap Libra if you're in Europe to a US account without some type of a checks and balance thing trying to go on, because the main thing, once again, that regulators keep talking about is this anti-money laundering thing. And I just realized if there's only one Libra, and Libra can go freely from Asia to Europe to Africa to the States without any real checks, because it's still the same exact coin, it's still a Libra, that's a problem for regulators. You need to have some type of a huge differential thing, and this is why we also saw the explosion of stablecoins about a good year ago at this point, where we had 200 of them, and they were all for different jurisdictions and countries and stuff like that, because my gosh, it's always so easy to piece everything together as well. It's never really hidden. But it's always covered by these, well, you know, things could be fine, but it's like, no, it's just money. You want control. You're going to try and keep control. And I think what they're probably betting on as well is Libra becoming huge. If Libra ends up getting the full support of governments who once hated it, air quotes, they didn't hate it at all, they just wanted more money, you end up getting into a situation where they want it to survive. Because once again, we've spoken about this many times. Imagine everything that you do, everything you've posted, everything you've spoken to, every friend you've added on Facebook is now then linked to money in some sort of way. They know everything about you. They know where you live, where you shop, what you buy, who you bought it for. My goodness. Let's move on. Next up, the Financial Action Task Force, or the FATF, and over 50 delegations involved in crypto supervision recently gathered to discuss how to regulate crypto assets and related service providers. While examining 3 key areas, they stressed the importance of international cooperation, citing that cryptocurrencies are global products, and this is the biggest part that worries them. If there was a US Bitcoin, if there was a Euro Bitcoin, none of this discussion would be happening. It'd be happening behind closed doors, but it wouldn't have thrown up as much dust as it possibly did. The reason why they find the need, the Financial Action Task Force and 50 other delegations are talking about how to regulate this, is because, so when you talk about the actual future of where a lot of this seems to be going, and this is why I mentioned before, why a lot of times when we get news about this institution is doing this with crypto, this institution is going to be custodying crypto, this institution is going to be doing so-and-so, this is being added as a futures, as an options, as a derivative, as a blah, 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 as a so-and-so. It's usually focused around Bitcoin. Part of the issue is that while Bitcoin transactions can be tracked, you can track anything if you really try hard enough, but Bitcoin is usually a lot easier. This is when we get into that entire discussion of fungible tokens and rich investors who only want like clean coins as they just come off of the mining press. Get into the situation where if Bitcoin looks poised to be a front runner over the next 10 to 15 years as a store of value, as something that's being used, as something that ends up passing by $1 trillion market valuation, government leaders want to know not only how to track it, but how to control the people who have it. This is why we've seen the fact that cryptocurrency exchanges have received banking licenses should already give you that nod in that direction, that banks usually only get bank charters and bank so-and-so and bank paperwork. Why would you give it to a cryptocurrency exchange who's 2 years old? Because it is widely believed that many things will be tokenized. If we end up getting a tokenized euro, US dollar coin, a so-and-so coin, they're probably also going to be passing through these cryptocurrency exchanges as well. And governments need or want to know how all of this is going to... You understand? It's all about pretty much keeping things exactly as they are, but in a digital form. They haven't yet come to the conclusion as to how they're going to control Bitcoin and control Ether and control XRP. I mean, XRP is a bit more of a different scenario because the people from Ripple have pretty much said, we don't mind. I mean, on their part, not that it's smart, but if you know the bull's going to hit you, just kind of like get prepared for it. And this is why I think Ripple has fared thus far very well, because they've kind of bent the knee for regulators. And then the other people who haven't have simply poofed and disappeared, Kick, Telegram, all that other stuff. I think every single day there's now at least two articles about the SEC having shut down some other ICO or some other company. The entire point being, even just from this very first paragraph, this is why we saw the FATF last year announce that the entire world had to follow their regulations, and I assume this is just the 2.0 as to exactly what they were discussing. The Financial Action Task Force held a supervisors forum in France last week to discuss crypto asset supervision. The aim of the forum was to promote more efficient supervision by national authorities to keep things as centralized as possible. It is a threat to them to have anything that is decentralized, because we only know a world, all of us, where Google holds all of their own servers, where Amazon has a huge, gigantic warehouse with 50 million computers, and they control everything. Everyone's used to a centralized world, and the threat of a decentralized world is not even that there would be panic or mayhem, is that you can't say that you're as powerful, as strong, as cool, or as awesome as you are, that you maintain so much power when you don't hold the power. What happens if the printing rights for the US dollar no longer went to the Fed, but went to, what if there were 50 people delegated in every single country around the world who had a say as to how much US dollars could be printed? Who then holds the power? It's not the US, it's not the Fed. It's the 50 people in the other countries. 50 is several, was that thousands of people? Hundreds? No, it's thousands of people who then hold the control. Same exact thing where we saw the issue in China, where they were trying to gain control over the mining industry. And I think a lot of people think that a lot of that simply got swept under the rug. Assumption, a large part of the mining industry within China and many other countries has simply fallen under the control of the Chinese government, or they know exactly how much is mined and exactly how much is being created. They have a huge control over it, and this is why we saw a couple of weeks ago as well. Was it Uzbekistan? And about 5 other countries over the past 5 months who have all come forward saying that crypto is now a national industry, or crypto is now a this, and mining is so and so and so. And it's like, they do this because you have to, remember I said before, in 2018, I said the countries who grasp this by the neck in the very beginning, these will be the most powerful ones. And it's not about maintaining control. It's about realizing that this is going to probably, cryptocurrencies continue to be very big in the future. And if you kind of wrangle it in right now, then you have your own little section where you can keep things. But the decentralization part really is a huge problem for them. They're not used to and this is what I think bothers them as well. When you have other companies talking about that they're going to be using blockchain, how are you using blockchain? What are you doing with it? Who else has a node? No. It's just us. Okay, well, you're fine. As long as you're running a node and a so-and-so and you tell us exactly what's going on, that's fine. Anytime any company decides to release a currency through an app where you can text your friends and you can send money back and forth, this is once again why Telegram, Kick, and all the other names out there were I almost used a crazy word, were pretty much battered down to the ground, because who has control over it? It's obviously going to be Kick and Telegram, but they also mentioned before that they wanted a kind of like decentralized platform. Well, you can't have a decentralized platform when teenagers and all these other people can send money back and forth. Who's sending them that money? Where are they getting this money from? What if they get paid in that money? What if they're sending thousands of dollars? Who knows about this? Well, what's the problem? You want to maintain control, just say it out loud. And it's always sprinkled with this kind of, oh, we're doing it to help protect people. And it's like, well, you're not. You're doing it to protect your own interests because you want to maintain the power that you've had for so long. And this is why when we talk about permissionless, decentralized coins, I understand that certain other coins may really tickle your fancy. You may see some coins and you're like, oh my gosh, you look so cheap, I want to buy you, because if you moon, I'll be rich. A lot of these coins will not moon. Please pay attention to coins that are permissionless, will remain permissionless. If you are into a coin and at some point you find out that it is controlled by some entity, or it is controlled by someone, and I don't mean actual supply, because if you want to get into an entire supply discussion, and I know people were like, well, XRP as well, Ether was also pre-mined. It was given to investors before the actual Ether started being mined. Same exact thing with many other coins. Many other coins were forked, and millions of other coins were already created and given to a lot of the people who were in these organizations and these foundations. And also, we know that there are several companies, who own hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin. And also crypto exchanges are also usually holding 1 million Bitcoin, some of them at the time. So don't get into the entire who owns what supply control thing, because we spoke about that before. If there's one company who is holding more than 1% of all Bitcoin, all you need is 99 more companies doing the exact same thing, and that's all the Bitcoin. And the Bitcoin's in the hands of 100 companies. The aim of the forum was to promote more effective supervision by national authorities in the area of crypto assets and related service providers. The Financial Action Task Force is an intergovernmental organization with a focus on developing policies to combat money laundering and terrorism financing. Sure. Supervisors are designated authorities of non-public bodies with compliance responsibilities of each country, according to the Financial Action Task Force. This event was the first opportunity for regulators to discuss how to implement new measures for crypto assets and related service providers since it finalized them in June 2019. Attendees included 135 representatives from over 50 delegations involved in virtual asset supervision. how far we've come in just 2 years to the point where we need virtual asset supervision, where we need to be told what to do with our crypto. It is going to be a very bloody digital battle in the next coming years. When Bitcoin surpasses $10,000 again, when Bitcoin passes 15,000, is on his way to 20,000, you're going to start seeing, pay attention to this, you're going to start seeing an enormous amount of news articles. I don't know if it's going to be on TV, on newspapers as you walk by, on websites that you visit, of how evil Bitcoin is, how much of a problem Bitcoin is. You're going to start seeing stories of people who were robbed, mugged, stolen from, cheated out of. You're going to start seeing a huge amount of this where people are going to be crying in articles, I lost so and so and so, and this was my retirement money. I saw it all before in 2017 as well, not as much of it, but we are now at the point where governments realize that we are a threat. They may say out loud, it's not a threat, we can get everything under control. There's a reason why the Financial Action Task Force and 135 people from around the world came together to discuss how to control this. When Bitcoin nears $1 trillion market cap, it is going to be a huge switch. Do you remember what happened when I think it was Apple and Amazon became $1 trillion companies? Everyone was trying to buy Amazon and Apple stock, and they became the new big boys in town because very few people, very few anything has ever been valued at $1 trillion. When something that is only 10, 11 years old, Bitcoin, has that valuation, governments are going to start to lose their mind. We're going to see such an enormous amount of propaganda against Bitcoin, and the problem is that a large amount of it is going to work. They're going to make sure that people are afraid, that people are told not to do so. Do you remember, probably not, years and years ago, I remember when I think Bitcoin had just hit 1,000. The news, like, just hit 1,000. The news that was out there was so much stuff about, wow, this thing hit 1,000. That's really crazy. It's worth so much. But don't forget that people still use it to buy drugs, and people still use it to buy illegal things. And they were showing like paraphernalia on the screen, and it's like, what does that have to do with this digital coin? What does that have to do with Bitcoin hitting $1,000? When the US dollar does so and so, or some other countries like, yeah, we have to use the US dollar, do they go, well, Johnny, don't forget, there are a lot of people out there who are using drugs and they're using the US dollar. It's like that. When did that correlation end up happening? So I still believe a large part of this also has to do with the fact that they are simply trying to accumulate more for themselves. They understand what's going on. Why is the Financial Action Task Force or the IMF or the SEC, why are they so desperate to control all of this right now? They said supervisors play an important role in ensuring that regulated entities, such as banks and financial institutions, implement the Financial Action Task Force standards to detect and prevent money laundering and terrorist financing. This is nuts. I'm very interested to see, and I know it's not going to be easy. I know we talk a lot about the prices and this and so and so and so, but this is also a very big cornerstone of everything that we have to discuss and that we have to really go through. When these coins surpass the valuations of companies who've been around for years, when these coins are then declared to be a store of value, when countries around the world, like the other three last year, announce that they want to start issuing bonds, stocks, so and so against Bitcoin, and they have to hold Bitcoin themselves, I think they're trying to nip it in the bud right now. They're trying to let everyone know that if you do anything with crypto, that they have to know about it. But that's not how Bitcoin works. That's not how many of the other decentralized, permissionless coins work. And when we have, and I know I keep saying it because it's going to come, and I think a couple of coins are going to implement it this year, when we have private transactions, what do they do? I'm very interested to see where this will all lead. And when I said it's going to be a bloody digital battle, there's going to be a lot of fighting. This is why this is why we shouldn't even have in-house fighting within the cryptocurrency space. People look like idiots when you're like, well, my coin's better than yours. It's like, no, just focused on the coins that are permissionless, that governments can't stop because they're permissionless, because they're nodes all around the world and no one controls them. No one forked them. No one created them. No one so and like they are just there. no one can grab a hold of them, because that's going to be very important for you in the future. As we have a Facebook coin, as we have an Amazon coin, as you are told or you see that Tether is a payment option, or all these other things on other websites. All these things will be controlled. That's why we keep getting news like this over and over, and why regulators somehow now don't have a problem with Libra. What happened over 6 months? They came to the conclusion that they found a way to control it. They're okay with letting Facebook have some of the power, as long as they can also ride in the same boat. Let's move on. Next up, Huobi Group is opening its first digital asset brokerage platform, offering trading products and services to institutional clients and high net worth customers. Announced on Tuesday, the Gibraltar-based Huobi brokerage is also the first product launch under the company's Global Institutional Business Division, or GIB. According to a company statement, formed in 2019 in November, the new division... Hold on, the sun's in my eye. Hold on. I don't know why the sun decided to just burn my eyes right now. Formed in November 2019, the new division was created as part of Huobi's effort to better serve institutional investors in the global market. The statement said the platform will enable institutional investors to use crypto services such as liquidity pools, a regulated fiat channel, and over-the-counter trading via its smart order routing system and trading algorithm. One of the core value propositions of Huobi Brokerage is that it aims to provide clients with best price execution on large order books. Clients will also have access to real-time trading quotes and prices locked that support block trades of major cryptocurrencies and stablecoins. You pretty much guessed it. It's going to be Bitcoin against Tether, Huobi US dollar, Paxos, True USD, and USDC. According to the statement, support for Ethereum, EOS, Bcash, Litecoin, and XRP are expected to be available later during the first quarter of 2020. I don't think we went over this before, that Huobi was planning on launching an institutional something. Huobi was in the news a couple of days ago, and I can't remember exactly what it was for. But I don't think it was just... I don't remember seeing the names of the coins that they would be allowing for their new digital brokerage platform. Everyone's trying to get into the business of over-the-counter sales. I know a lot of people don't care for over-the-counter sales, but they are very big. They're a way for people to be able to lock in a price of a coin at any time that they want. And a lot of times, we know manipulation is happening, but it's more like you gotta take it for what it is. Manipulation happens completely everywhere. Anyway, Huobi is launching. Huobi is launching a new platform for very rich people, because I assume they probably have seen the numbers from Coinbase and Binance and all these other things, and everybody wants their own slice of the pie. Move on. In news that was everywhere, British telecom conglomerate Vodafone has become the 8th company to pull out of the Libra Association, the governing council for the Facebook-created Global Digital Currency Initiative. Coinbase, what's Coinbase? Oh yes, website. Yeah. Coindesk has learned. I was like, I haven't used Coinbase in a while. Anyway, Vodafone and Libra both confirmed on Tuesday the company is no longer part of the consortium. Vodafone will dedicate resources previously intended for Libra to its well-established and successful digital payment service M-Pesa, and I'll get back to that in 1 second, which the company plans to expand beyond the 6 African nations currently being served. The parting appears to be amicable, with Vodafone leaving specifically to form its own related service, and not due to the regulatory concerns that apparently spooked other former members, which I don't think that it did at all. Vodafone joins PayPal, MasterCard, Visa, Mercado Pago, eBay, Stripe, and Booking Holdings in withdrawing from the controversial stablecoin project, and is the first company to exit after the association was formally organized in October 2019. Payment companies likely due to the concerns about increased regulatory scrutiny. That's a lie, which several U.S. senators threatened. At least one Visa specifically mentioned regulatory expectations as a reason for not joining. I think a couple of these were scared off in the very beginning, because the idea was if Libra and Facebook fell under the regulatory scrutiny and all of their tax information would have gone through, well, same thing would happen for all of these companies, and they're like, no, we're fine. We're good. We're going to completely step away. Vodafone leaving Libra has nothing to do with the power of Libra. It has to do with the government allowing Libra to launch and backing Libra, and that's where a lot of their power comes from. I had no idea that Vodafone was actually in control of M-Pesa. For those of you who don't know what M-Pesa is, it's this right here. I think it started in Kenya. I know it's very African oriented as far as the as the continent, and it's very popular. It's pretty much a WeChat My Pay type thing. Where you can pretty much put money onto your mobile phone. And I remember seeing a documentary about it before. It was marketed as if you don't have a smartphone and you have one of the older, like the gigantic like brick phones, the ones that you charge once and they stay charged for 9.5 years, you could have your own wallet on your own phone. This is how it was marketed years ago, before many people had access to less expensive smartphones. But now it's come this like major payment system within Africa. So I assume, I mean, it even says it right here. They're trying to expand further into Africa because remember when we talked about before how many cryptocurrency companies, not even many, I think it was Cardano, Dash, I think that's it, had announced that they were trying to move into Africa as well, because a lot of places in Africa don't have a banking system because, say it with me, banks don't like poor people. A lot of the African countries, I've seen documentaries on this before. People have mentioned this out loud because the people, even if there are rich cities or richer cities in certain African countries, it doesn't equate to a bank wanting to do business there because they need to know that they can make a significant amount of money. It just comes to the bank wanting to know that they can profit before they even think about opening doors there. So this is why it's a perfect avenue for cryptocurrencies to be able to get there. But then you also get into the situation where we know that the people from Libra were having discussions with many other African country leaders as well. And it's like, well, they could benefit from and this is the problem as well, it's because of corruption. How wonderful would it be if many African, South American, and Southeast Asian countries adopted Bitcoin? And not because it's Bitcoin, it's because the first thing that popped into my head. Any properly decentralized, permissionless blockchain coin. How much more stable their economies would become. But then you have discussions where, well, they want to continue to have control, and this is why they're like, okay, well, Libra can come in because it allows us to have control, someone else has control. I can't really envision a world where things are completely decentralized, because I think, have you ever seen anything before where they discuss what a world looks like where Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies take over and there's no centralization? We have no need for governments making money, and the people who make money hold the power. What happens when we don't need them? What happens when our money is done by an algorithm? When we know on this date, this amount of so-and-so will be cut in half, or we're going to have so-and-so, or the current issuance rate of this money is going to happen until the year 2140. Like, why do we need people to give us laws or do other things when we can have algorithms do it? That's a whole nother discussion. I was gonna dive deep into that one, but it's a really weird prospect when you realize that a lot of the things that we have now, even when you talk about accountants and lawyers and stuff like that, there was someone. There's a video somewhere online where this guy, it wasn't based on blockchain, but it was like an algorithm that this guy had created, where he had pretty much shoved every single law from, I think, his country or state or something like that into his computer. And he had like one of the top lawyers flipping through pages and stuff. They were trying to solve like a fake crime, a fake something that had happened that they had made up. And it was up to the computer and it was up to the human to figure out the basis for previous laws that had happened and stuff like that, to come up with with a solution for how things should have been taken. And I think it took the actual human like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 hours to go through his mind, to go through all the books, to make sure that everything was correct. I think it took the computer around 8 minutes to go through every single court case, every other law that he had ever seen, to come up with the exact same answer that the lawyer had also come up with. Anyway, I don't know. Life is weird. Life is very fascinating because, yeah, it's a lot going on. Here's the actual M-Pesa website again, and let's move on. In news that was everywhere, and it's kind of like You've heard the phrase, if you're over 18, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's the kind of the basic way of saying it. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says bleeding quarter. Ripple's Q4 sales declined by 80%. The company paused programmatic sales, contributing to the slumped figure. The news that was everywhere this morning when I woke up, XRP sales dropped by 80% in Q4 as Ripple continues over-the-counter sales. How do I begin this discussion? The news is that Ripple's doing bad. Why is Ripple doing bad? Because they're selling less XRP. Why are they selling less XRP? Because there's not a lot of people who want to buy their XRP, and therefore this is why in Q4, sales of XRP by Ripple declined by 80%. I wish I had the other, the other articles up here, because they were talking about Ripple's dead, they're done for. It's clear that no one really wants their coin or their token. Part of the problem is once again, the internet exists. And for those of you who are not looking at the screen, this article says, but despite the growth, Ripple is planning to take a more conservative approach in the third quarter, that is last year. The company switched benchmarks to Crypto Compare's top tier and said that it will target programmatic sales at 10 basis points of CCTT. Reported volumes in the next quarter. It also wants to scale back from some of the over-the-counter exchange markets and shift to where liquidity is more needed, a move that will likely negatively impact institutional sales. Once again, that will likely negatively impact institutional sales, which means, for those of you who didn't get that, Ripple announced last year that in Q3 of last year that they planned on starting to sell less XRP onto the market. Going forward, Ripple plans to focus institutional sales on markets where the on-exchange liquidity for XRP is insufficient to meet institutional demand, it said. The report also includes the escrow activity for XRP for the latest quarter. The firm revealed it withdrew $1 billion from escrow each month over the quarter, which is something that we've known about since 2017. This is not new news, totaling to 3 billion XRP, which is completely normal because the quarter is 3 months, 1 billion per month. That's 3 billion XRP, of which 2.1 billion were said to be reinvested into the escrow, which means out of 3 billion XRP over the course of 3 months, 2.1 billion went back in because they lowered their sales of XRP. Are you keeping up with me? While the remaining 0.9 billion were used to finance XRP development via its incubators, Xspring or Spring and RippleNet. I don't know how long these articles can go on for. I don't know if it's ever going to happen. For those of you not looking at the screen, it says Ripple dumps more XRP than ever before, exceeding $250 million last quarter. If Ripple sells XRP, they're dumping XRP. If Ripple isn't selling a lot of XRP, their sales are declining. I don't know what people want. I think people just like to be unhappy. This is just how I feel about a lot of the world. I think people like to complain. When people complain, it gives them something. It gives them a chance to hear their own voice and say, "I'm complaining. I'm doing my part as a complaining citizen." Leave them alone. If you don't like them, just shut the hell up. It's so frustrating to continuously see news like this over and over. If Ripple says in 2017, we're locking away all this XRP and we will get 1 billion XRP per month. And I think that's also a very big number that people like to throw around. I don't know if you realized it before. Before the price slump in XRP that we see right now, it was a very big thing to say that someone had unlocked 1 billion of something. I was like, whoa, that's so much. But the fact that XRP's price has fallen to where it is right now, the word billion just doesn't have the same ring. So you have to say 250 million. Oh my gosh, they did so and so. And it's like, well, 250 million over the course of, do you understand how big these companies are, that this money isn't really a lot to them, especially when they're in control of billions of dollars? It's just, no matter what Ripple does, they will always be seen as a devil. I wish people paid as much attention to Lumens burning billions of coins, or to Tron burning hundreds of millions of dollars on websites. When was the last time you used BitTorrent? How many of you and your friends hold BitTorrent tokens? I'm waiting. Please tell me. And you can't say, and I give an actual golf clap, like a huge kudos to a lot of you who have either realized the folly. I don't even know what, just calling Ripple a bankster coin. There are so many other coins that have outwardly, I've seen people tell me that they would rather support Libra than support Ripple. And I wonder what kind of Kool-Aid you're drinking when you think that an actual permissionless blockchain like XRP's is worse. Do you understand how evil Facebook is? When I saw that comment and I thought that people were joking, and I think it had like 25 thumbs up, and I was like, all hope is lost for the world. When you believed the propaganda that someone fed you years ago that Ripple was an evil company, and therefore, and the amount of people asking me where to buy Libra coins, it's out of control. And when I say do your own research, like, stop this video right now and just go read a book. Just go somewhere else. Anyway, that does it for your ridiculous news for the day that was everywhere. Every single website makes sure to announce that Ripple sales were down. The company's not doing well. They've been trying to sell XRP as much as possible, but nobody seems to want it. No, we know from last year that they announced that they were going to be cutting down in Q3, which also means they were probably going to cut down in Q4 and continue going this route as they don't want to put more XRP on the market. It could be because people were complaining, people were writing petitions, or it could just simply be that it's a business move and they're a multi-billion-dollar company and they know exactly what they're doing because the people from the SEC and CFTC and the IMF are on their board of directors. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the reason. If you are going to support Facebook more than XRP, I am just going to move on because, man, my gosh. And to finish things off, life is interesting when you wait a day or two. Famous crypto skeptic and gold bug Peter Schiff said that his Bitcoin mystery is solved after realizing that he mistook the PIN on his Bitcoin wallet for the password. In a tweet on the 22nd of January, Schiff explained that he now knows that the PIN of his wallet, but after the app was updated, he was logged out and could not access his funds anymore. He also admitted that he never wrote down his seed phrase. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, Peter Schiff is one of the most outspoken critics of Bitcoin because he has nothing more to do with his time. Can you imagine having over, I assume this man's worth over, I'm going to go lowball, $10 million, and having nothing better to do with your time than to write angry messages on Facebook and on Twitter about how much you hated digital protocol. I'll tell you right now, if I had $50 million, I wouldn't know how to spell Twitter. I would be on a beach somewhere. I'd be hanging out with my friends. I'd be buying apartments. I'd be throwing parties. I'd have a great life. Why Peter Schiff and many other people find a need to continue to do these things, who knows? Peter Schiff announced a couple of days ago, even backtracking a bit further, someone I think gifted Peter Schiff, who is a famous gold bug, sometime last year with a smidge of Bitcoin. He got some in a wallet. He was like, I hold Bitcoin. Let's see how this goes. A couple of days ago, the same exact man announced that Bitcoin was a fraud. I can't get into my wallet. The network is down. Things are destroyed. He told tens of thousands of people on multiple platforms that Bitcoin was evil. Bitcoin was so-and-so. He could not get into his wallet. It's a complete joke. This is all a scam. Someone took my money. It's all gone. I do commend him for being honest, that he realized that his PIN was not his password. If you've ever bought a ledger, if you've ever bought anything else, if you've ever had a wallet on your crypto wallet on your desktop, you know when you create a password, it says, please write down these 12, 13, 14, 15, 24 phrases. And then you get a piece of paper and you get a pen and you write all of them down, whether they be lowercase or uppercase. So in the event that something is destroyed or lost or stolen, you still have your seed phrase, and therefore you can say, nope, this is definitely mine. I had a friend had that same exact problem, got into a situation where he downloaded a wallet, had his Bitcoin on there, One day he forgot his password. He clicked hard reset. I don't know why on this earth he did that. And then messaged me, if you're listening, hello, dude. Messaged me that he could not access his Bitcoin, and I could feel the fury coming through the phone and the anguish and the being scared. And I was like, well, did you write down the 12-word phrase? And he's like, yeah, but it's not working. I think it's not that he thought it was a scam, but you know those emotions when everything seems lost and hopeless at that moment. Come to find out, he didn't write it in the correct order. He had all 12 words. He just had them left to right as opposed to up and down like they showed on the screen. He got his Bitcoin back. Everything is good in the world. The long story short being, I think it's fascinating that we live in a world, and this basically comes down to the internet once again, that people can say what they want and think that people can't find what they said before. As far as, we hate Libra, we don't like Libra. We hate so-and-so, we're not going to do this. Oh my gosh, why does Ripple keep dumping so much XRP? Oh gosh, Ripple's not selling any XRP, and it's like, shut up. Just stop. And I know that people won't stop, and I realize that a lot of it has to do with wanting people to read your articles, wanting people to, I guess you can use the word clickbait. And I'll be honest with you. People, I've been accused many times of clickbait, and I think maybe when people tell me that, I assume it's their first day on the internet, because I think they haven't seen other cryptocurrency channels where people are holding their faces, or people are writing Bitcoin's next big boom, and it shows like this green line going up and stuff like that. If you ever see a situation, for those of you who've never used YouTube before, when you actually do the title of a video, you are restricted to, I think, 150 characters. It's not a lot. You have to really get it in there. You have to figure out exactly which words to use to be able to make people understand what you're talking about in the video. And sometimes I've used the words that are in articles. This is usually how I do it. I make sure that I use something that I've read, that I've said out loud, or something that's actually in the article to let people know exactly what's going to come in the video. And people are like, you have too much clickbait in your video. And I'm like, you probably did not watch the video. You had no idea. It's the same exact thing where I had the, I don't remember what it was. It was something from a couple of months ago, and I had so many dislikes, and I'm like, I know none of you watched it, because people have a really weird thing. This is why I go through the articles with you, because I know a huge amount of people see words and then they screenshot it and tell their friends what they saw in the title. They didn't read it. They didn't go through it. And even more so, no one really does cross-reference checking. No one goes, maybe that article's lying. Maybe the article's so-and-so. Or maybe, I mean, how many websites have we seen before that start with BTC or Bitcoin that have negative XRP articles? That's kind of weird. I wonder why they'd have negative articles about XRP. So, Mr. Peter Schiff, I assume, I give it 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, he will probably have something else negative to say about Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's price goes down, he will say Bitcoin's for the so-and-so. And the moment Bitcoin's price goes up, he's going to stop talking, because he'll be making money. And the moment he stops making money and prices go back down, this is when you can get those tweets and those likes and all those other things once again, because negativity usually sells, and that's kind of just the world that we live in. Anyway, I love stuff like this. How dare you call Bitcoin a fraud because you didn't write down your password and you didn't understand the difference between a PIN and it's what? Dude, why do rich people bother writing on Twitter and stuff all the time? I can think of a quintillion things I'd be doing if I had at least 50 million. Anyway, give me half a second. Before starting the video, my phone had 3%, so I had to charge it because I just don't think. As always, a very special thank you to my Patreon supporters. Professor Wally from Gunbot University, Chongololo, Tsongololo, Nostromo, Mr. Pickles, John Sarson, The Animal Reader, A Bibliophobia, Barebones Mining, Todd Mullis, Adam Graysick, Mohair Maroney, Master Ventures in Thailand, Brady Neal, Jared Schneider, Wise Night Owl, 242 to the World, Crypto Joe, Bankroll Network, Adobo, Mill Wheezy, Crypto Artist, Coldy 3D, Nicholas Renault, One Piece, One Love, Damien Setsuna, Nick Kanaya, Richie Rich III, Vlad the Impaler, Crypto Shipmate, Paxis, Nick Mangialavori, Anthony Charles, Jim Garner, Jeremy Fox, Minting Coins, Miller Hitch, Test Every Day, and Kyle Skips Leg Day, Yes, 2 Crypto, Bodie McBoatface, Anytime Fitness, Monk's Corner Staff, Arf, Medic 17, Bake Me a Cake, and Tigara Macho Nisa. Thank you all very, very much for your support. At the moment, for those of you not looking at the screen, the market is in red. Bitcoin is currently at 8,447. You can tell it tried to push itself back up. I assume anytime that there are movements like this, over the course of a 12-hour period, if not a bit less, it's my thought process for it is that people are selling off and then buying over the counter. It's just how things are. Anytime you can make a profit, especially keep in mind, if you're trading $100,000 worth of anything, you have a 2% something swing and you can get the price to go back up, you make bank. You make a lot of money in these movements. But at the moment, prices are down. Don't know how long it's going to last for, what the entire reason for it is. I assume, as always, we will get some type of a news article, story, something in a couple of hours as to why prices are going down. They will all be incorrect because we always end up getting around 15 of them talking about exactly why prices are going down. And no one ever really knows. It could be something as simple as somebody in Australia hit the sell button for $38 million worth of Bitcoin. It caused a tumble. Their friends bought over the counter, and then they just put back in a buy order should prices go down by another 2 to 3%. It could be anything. And we'll never know. That's part of the magic of cryptocurrencies. It's decentralized, and everyone in some way has a right to do with their money as they so chooseth. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day, a great morning. The world is ridiculous. I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for another country before the end of this month to go, well, Libra's not that bad. We've had discussions. We had some tea. They handed us a briefcase. Things are cool now. Things are fine. Hope you all have a great day, great morning, great afternoon, great evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching and or listening. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.